Hello, 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 hello. I'm getting better. That is to say, things are happening in roughly the right order. So let's see if this is doing anything. Yep, there it is. And if I click on there, I'm in. Hooray! Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you doing, people? Let's see if that improves things. I've got myself all round here, so I've got to switch the sound off on that. Because I've proved. No, I didn't know anything. Let's get rid of the nickname in. Right, today is, what's the date today? It's the 8th of January, February, March, and it's 2023. In case anybody didn't know, it's 2023. When you get to my age, you're not necessarily sure what day any day is, but there we go. It's the old fogey stories. Never mind. Right, today is an interesting day. I've got a video coming out soon, which may be of interest, and hopefully we'll have some viewers on here, and we can answer some questions and have something approaching a bit of fun. Just got to get my chat up, which is, otherwise I can't see anything, which is there, and I shall type into the chat. Hello world. And you never know, whoa, how did that happen? Got a capital W and a capital O, RLD. But that's because I was too slow with the shift key. Never mind. Anyway, right, okay, let's have a look at this. Let's make that full size. It's less of a mess than it has been. That's all I can tell you. But, there we go. Right, today is interesting insofar as I've got an update on. I'm doing a tape review, and I'll put it in the community thing actually, because it's that one, which is an interesting one. Now, you guys don't know, but it takes an awful lot of work to make one of these videos. It looks simple. I mean, I make it look just so it just happens, but actually it doesn't, unfortunately. Actually, I can show you, if you bear with a few seconds. I'll show you my folders that I've got that are all to do. Well, this is just one video's worth of folders, just so that you can see the sort of thing that's involved. Let's do a fade. Wait, look at that. Look. Right, so this is my folder for the capture cassette. Except that it isn't the only one, because if I go back one on there, got all of that as well. And then if I go back, this is the folders for the tapes and things I've done this basically since let's see, test the first 23. Let's see, when does it go back to? The youngest file on here is way down the bottom. 2011. No, it doesn't count. No, that's files I bought in from other things. The folders is really the one that counts. Let's have a quick look at that. And yeah, so the youngest computer, 11th of the 5th, 2022, because that's when I got this computer, which would make sense. So from then on, I've got all of those folders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then another screen full. And so, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 38, 39, 40, 41, 48, 46, 47, about 50 folders. 50 folders for the videos I've done. And in each of those folders you've got basically lots of stuff. Lots and lots of stuff. Which, and then that's only that. Anyway, that's an aside. But what it does mean, I'm just showing you for the fact that people think that these things just get thrown together. If you ask any YouTuber, he'll tell you that they don't just get thrown together. They might look like it sometimes, but they don't, because you have to actually work at it. And it's the sort of work that is quite fun. But what I find is a bit strange. It's when you sat there at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's basically because that's the timer. Let's see what happens if I push that there. Turn that off. No, click on there, and then do that. Whams, nothing. I'll turn that off, and then do that. Yay, there we go. Right, so basically what happens is at 2 o'clock, oh look at that, feedback. 2 o'clock in the morning, you sat there and you've got your finger on the mouse and you're trying to label up the pictures, which is what I was doing, because you've got to do things like, for instance, with the way I do the tape tests is I actually, source the tape, which is easier said than done sometimes, and then I have to decide when I'm going to make the video for, or when I'm going to actually do the video, and that can be fun. And then, because you've got to try and fit it in with life. Life has a habit of getting in the way of videos, or is it videos getting in the way of life? One or the other. And so you've got yourself all sat there, and you're doing your thing. I have to record the signals. I have to make sure they're calibrated, because if you've noticed on my channel, and I've got a bone to pick about that, but anyway, you'll notice on my channel that you actually get qualified results. They may not be necessarily the way that you would expect them to be, but you don't hear me just say, oh, this is a nice tape, or oh, this isn't a nice tape. What you actually get from me is you actually get an opinion and back up science, well, pseudoscience. I don't claim to be perfect, I don't claim to know everything, but I do claim to actually try and get it right. More than happy to have people tell me that I've not got it right. More than happy to have people tell me better ways of doing things, because one of the things that you learn when you get older, and this is something that a lot of people don't seem to understand, very often there is not a right way of doing it. Sometimes there's a right way amongst several right ways. Let me try and give you an example. I used to work for, I used to do Panasonic, we used to do Ferguson, and what is it, Bang & Olufsen, which was basically Philips on the products I was doing with. And you'd be set a task on doing something, and you'd read, Mitsubishi was the other one. You'd read in the Mitsubishi manual how to do something, and it was fine, and you'd do it that way. And then you'd go on to do the same adjustment on something like a Ferguson. I'm talking video recorders here, but it's the same difference. You're putting signals onto tape. And it would say to do what was effectively the same thing, but a different way. Now, sometimes it's because they had test points and things in specific places, and other times it's just because that was the way they thought of doing it. It hadn't occurred to them to do it the other way, or the other people, it hadn't occurred to them to do it the way that those people were. What I'm getting at is that there's more than one way of doing something, and very often, the difference is convenience. Like, there happens to be a tag that you can hook onto on this particular model, which will give you a signal half the size that you would get if you went on the other tag, but half the size is still in scale, so adjust it to be minimal or whatever. It's fine. That's the sort of thing that used to happen. Oh, hello Wasim, how you doing? All right. Nice to see you here. Kelvin's working tonight, so he won't be in. I'm hoping Eggle will be in, but I saw him put a comment on my my post about the tape, my, what do they call it, social media post thing. Yes, cats. Yes, there's more than one way to skin a cat. This is what people don't seem to understand, that there's definitely more than one way to skin a cat. I've been looking at things, and if anybody, as I was saying, if anybody's got any ideas on how to do anything I try and do better, more than happy to watch, listen and learn or whatever. And, you know, maybe I don't always get it. That's right. I see. No cats were harmed in the making of this yet. Meow. Yeah. Okay. No, where'd that come from? I was watching. Yeah, I was going on about the making of this capture video, which I haven't. Well, where is it? Haven't released yet, because I haven't finished it yet, and I'm trying to get the wordings right. Yeah, Wasim, you can answer me this. Do you know about this tape? Do you know of this tape? And if you do, what do you want to know about it? Because this is brand new. I've only just taken the wrapper off it. I've done all. I did show the actual folders with a lot of the work in there, which that is the culmination of, let me think, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 10 hours work that I was showing on there. The brand, it's a Capture. It's that one, Capture. It's an American tape, and it's one of the few that are being made nowadays. So it's a brand new tape rather than being a new old stock. Yes. Now, that's what I was going to say. He reviewed it, and because what I did yesterday was I typed into Google. I was just reading what you said. I don't think I have any. I may have one though. If you type into Google capture tape review, you get the one from Cassette Comeback. So I thought, well, what I'll do then is I'll watch it. This was before I did my own results, and apart from the fact he's having a go at people about new old stock and stuff, which is, you know, he was trying to sell stuff. 3 years ago he made the video, and what he did was he put it into an hour so he could show how it biased up. Then he put it in a Revox, and he showed how good the Revox was. Sorry, he showed how good the tape was by using a Revox, which if you've been on more than one of my lives, you know my opinion on that. So he's trying to show how good his tape machine is by putting a tape in it, because that's effectively what he did, and he got some good results out of it, apparently. What he actually got was, he was hitting it at +4, and he reckoned that was okay. He reckoned that it was doing a bit of distortion on the hi-hats, but, you know, what do you expect? It's not a super ferric, blah blah blah, and overall, didn't my machine do a good job of it? Well, I would lay one question mark to that. How good's the tape? Because he said he's put it in, he's got distortion, but it's not really a problem because it sounds okay in his Revox. I think it was a 215. I don't know what model it is. It's the one that looks like a Revox. So that was my question, was how good a tape is it? He did say that it had nice spooled hubs. He said it had a big lip on there, they've changed the J card. This is a later version, obviously, because they changed the J card. We now have just a single sheet. I think that's what he said. So there's just a single sheet of it, and you can write on there. That's fine. Label it up with Dolby. It's nice J card. I like it. It's subtle. It's not like a Maxell clown tape, and it's got the that case is nice, and it's got rounded corners, which is good. Never a bad thing to have rounded corners. It's what I call Sierra'd. Back in the day, you had the Cortina, and it had corners on it, sort of sharp edges, and they replaced that with the Sierra, and the Sierra had all smooth corners on it, and so a lot of things then came out Sierra'd. That's about 1980. I had a till. I had a sharp till, and it didn't have a sharp edge on it. It was all nice and rounded, and looked like it come out of the same factory as the Sierra had. Anyway, this is the tape, and you can see here it's it's good. It's got a nice smooth wrap, which is what he was on about. Except actually, looking at that one, can you see that? There is it hasn't wrapped very well. That's interesting. You can see a gap. You can see me through a gap in the tape. I think that's what it is. Oh. If I move that, well, maybe not. Maybe that's the hubs. It's not looked at it that's closely. Oh no, that is the hubs. There's a sort of a it's like spines within it. I don't mean where my finger is. I mean, let's see if I can get this right. Between, you can see there, it's got like, cogs. Okay, so that's that. But I watched his video. It was 19 minutes long, and he played some music on it. But apart from the fact he likes the fact that it's brown, and he likes the fact that it's got a smooth pack, all he's proved is that his Revox can make it distort at 4 dB. So no spoilers. That's not the way I do my tape tests, as you know. So I would be doing a tape test on there, which is my normal format. So at the end of the day, you'll know whether or not the tape's performing very well, and what you can expect to get out of it on your machine. Because if I can get it out of my machine on the cheap old crap that I'm using, sorry, that's a very expensive piece of crap apparently. Depends on which forum you read, whether it's total crap, Chinese crap, or expensive crap. It's a soft touch, whatever. Remote control, dual deck. But at the end of the day, it will do it. And I might even try it in my Sony, which is not the above mentioned descriptions. But anyway, that was the thing on there. So I actually spent half an hour watching a review to find out that the guy didn't actually know whether it was any good or not. There you go. He's had loads of views on it though. Hopefully somebody will look at mine and say, oh, okay. Now if I put that together with Tony's review, I can then understand where I'm coming from, which would be good. Right. Any more cats? Next thing was I wanted to talk about the video I put out last week, which was on troubleshooting. I've been asked to do something on coils and things. Now, I'm raising that because, obviously, well, I'll tell you why I'm raising that, shall I? I will find, if I can, bear with, there was a Facebook question. Oh, I've got 10 Facebook things on there. There was a Facebook question the other day about things like that. the chap was trying, and I'm not having a go at him or anything. I've been trying to help him, but there was a chap who had a problem with. He wanted to know what some components were. That's right. I will just, if I can, just show. I've hidden his name so that nobody's embarrassed, other than because there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Let me see if I can cut to there. Fade, 300 milliseconds. Boom. Yay. Right. If you can see on here, there is he's done a full list of components, capacitors in a deck, and he's saying, if anybody else finds this useful, here it is, which is fine. Somebody pointed out to him that most of the cassette deck manuals actually have a list of those components, so it's a little bit redundant, but he's asking what these components here are and what these components here are. Now, unless anybody's got any specific answers, let me see. I shall click on it, and you can see. So those there are capacitors, and somebody pointed out they look like foil capacitors, so they're not electrolytics. That's an electrolytic. That's a resistor. That's a capacitor there. He wasn't asking about that one. And that's an IC, and that's another electrolytic, possibly a non-polarized. Don't know what MP stands for. Could well be. Without seeing the rest of the board, couldn't tell. But, oops, no, not that bit. He was also asking about this capacitor here and this capacitor here. Now, anybody got any idea why that is not such a good question? Pretty. Let's come back. Come on, come back. Anybody got any idea why that's not such a good question? Because it's not a very good question. I shall tell you for why. Because it is fade, cut, boom, me again, turn that off, fade, boom, there we go. The reason it's not a very good question is because those are not capacitors, they're coils, and he had that pointed out to him. But I was just wondering, is there any point in doing videos on this sort of thing? Because I'm more than happy to do it, but is anybody going to be interested in watching it? So, as they used to say, send in a postcard, stamp addressed postcard, and we'll see where we go. Yeah. It's one of those things where, sorry, I'm reading the comments, so please don't think I'm just sort of fading away. I normally snore when I fade away, and it's interesting. The chat comes in quicker or at a different time to the actual pictures. I'm only just seeing the capacitors and things now, so there's a hell of a delay on it. Interestingly, anyway. Yeah, so there's that was that. I'm more than happy to do a proper follow up on that, but I need feedback from people. The channel, by the way, I take it anybody who's watching is generally interested, is doing quite well. I shall show you something if I can find it. Where is it? Don't know. Let's see if I can find it. I've got now. This is not a sponsored link or anything like this, but I've got this software, and it's called vidIQ, and it does this. And this is the specs. This is the what is happening. Fade. Boom. This is what's happening on the channel at the moment. And you can see we've got views are up, subscribers are up, and minutes are up, which is good because I've been asking for subscribers to get better, and I've asked for people to to support the channel, and I know I've got my regulars, so Kelvin, Egil, and Wasim, and there was a Michelle as well. I haven't seen for a couple of goes, but and I've been getting several hundred views on some of the things. Let's go back to me, and which is good. No, turn the camera off. I want to turn that off and do that. Boom, which is good because it's nice to know that people are watching, and I'm trying to do things that people want to see, which is a lot. It makes sense to me, but how do I do what people want to see if they don't tell me? Because what I'm having to do at the moment, just as a general sort of thing, is I'm having to watch the adverts on my own channel. I'm having to just sort of try stuff and see how it goes, which is okay. But when you've spent, I don't know, 4 solid days working on a video and it gets 100 views and 2 posts from people trying to do porn and trying to hijack your viewers, it's not so good. So that's the problem I found, and that's why. But you may have noticed I got better with this OBS. I spent the time deliberately trying not to kill a cat. Right, okay. What was the other thing I was going to see if there was any interest in? Pulling me in now. Well, I think that's about it, really. Unless anybody's got anything else they'd like to talk about. Maybe it's going to be a quick one this week. I have got that video on the way about this capture. It's really weird because it's not a mirror. Oh, the joys of being a YouTuber. There you go. Look, I'm seeing myself now. The joys of being a YouTuber. It's really quite strange, and yeah. Now I've got a music centre upstairs. It's a Sony music centre. One of these mini ones. I got it. Where did I get it from? Can't remember. But it's got LCD tuner. It's got speakers, and very expensive. And I was wondering if anybody would like a review on that, because it's the sort of thing that is quite good to do. Scratch my head. There you go. And let me see what else I've got. I've got a reel-to-reel. I've got an Akai reel-to-reel. I've got I've still got the V2000. I've got to find a source for the exploding capacitor on that, and I've got half a dozen other tapes. It's really just a case of working out what's what. Oh, OLEDs and mini LEDs. Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? 4K TVs. I think 4K TV is lovely, but I don't have one. My son does. He's got one of these Sky ones. I've still got a plasma. I've got a plasma 3D. Good thing about plasma is that they only pull power when they're on. When they're bright, they pull lots of power. When they're not bright, they don't pull much power at all. And compare that to LED, not LED, but OLED. But when you compare that to LCD, which is on all the time, and things like, just trying to think, the Dolby Atmos sound and all that. Trouble is, I haven't got one. Now, if you know anybody who'd like to send me one to review, I'll send it back. If you pop round with a nice 4K TV. Actually, I've been in Curry's Curry's? Yeah, no, PC World, I think they call it now. And they've got some gorgeous TVs in there. And, but the trouble is, I'm fussy. My plasma cost me over £2,000 several years ago. Yeah, mine's about that age as well. So I've got the Samsung, and I don't know actually, because of the streaming. I've seen my son's telly. He's got this the Sky thing, the Sky Glass, or Glass is what they call it, and it's a 60-inch TV, and it's very nice. But he had a Panasonic Plasma 3D before that, and you know what? I always loved the picture on his Plasma 3D. I don't particularly find this 4K that he's got is as engrossing as it could be. Yeah, cost per year. I've got a Panasonic Plasma in my bedroom, which is from 2002, 2003, something like that. That one cost 1,500 quid. That was a 40-inch, I think. Thing is, there's a question. Does anybody actually use the TVs in their bedroom? And if they do they have a sex life? And I don't mean that in a smutty way, but if you've gone to bed and you've watched the telly and then you got tired and you fall asleep, is that a good thing or not? Because I've got the TV in the bedroom, and it hasn't been used. I think. Plasmas suffer from burn-in. Yes, they do. There should be, if you go onto a very dark but not totally dark image, something like a very dark grey, when they go between one scene and another, and you can see that it's on, but it's not actually. That's when you would see the burn. And if it was a very bright picture that you had on just before, that's when you would actually see the burn in. If you've got a picture that you can see with a normal brightness of picture, you've pretty well screwed it. There should be a tube cleaning function within the service settings on your menus. There's certainly one on the Panasonic. I think there's one on the Samsung. But as a general rule, never leave anything displayed solidly on the Samsung or the Panasonic Plasmas for any length of time, because it doesn't take long for it to go. It doesn't take long for it to burn in, but it takes quite a long time to burn out. This scrubbing thing, I operated it once just to see what it was like, and it basically was sweeping very bright across the screen. It was almost like you've got a little man inside with a chamois, sort of cleaning the inside of the thing, sort of like that, and it worked. But you can get the same problem with LCD, but to a far lesser extent. And if you go back to the old tubes, they always had the problem with it. In fact, the thing that everybody remembers about CRT television is the little white spot in the middle when you turned it off. Well, that didn't actually exist. The little white spot did exist when you turned it off, but if you see people remembering their TV, oh yeah, I remember, we used to watch it till the spot appeared. No, what you did was you watched it till you turned it off, and when you turned it off, the cathode continued emitting the electrons, which hit the phosphor, and it burnt it. And if you had a TV for probably about between 3 and 6 months, you then had, in the middle, you had one splotty, normally a comma shaped, but not necessarily in the right orientation. Because what used to happen was that the picture would be scanning like that, and then you turn it off and it go, and so you just get a little sort of quiver. So you'd get a definite black spot in the middle of the tube, and it was quite a few years before they realised that there was a problem with that, because they then had to put in, what they did was they had a circuit so that when you turn the telly off, it reversed the grid on the cathode ray tube, so that it would try and prevent what was called spot suppression. So they would try and turn the grid off with the video drivers, which worked to some extent. That's why on some TVs, if you turn them off and on and off and on, you then end up with a spot which you wouldn't normally have had. I had a big problem with colour sets doing it, because you had 3 spots, and that was always fun. 25,000 volts on a 12-inch CRT, and little story for you. I was a bit of a geek. I still am, and the way I met my first wife was, we were in a we'd met sort of thing, and I said, "Would you like to come to my workshop and see this rat trap I'd made?" She said, "Oh, sounds interesting." We went to this workshop, and there I got a television running, and I'd got a plate, and I'd fed the EHT from the television to this plate, and put the food the other side of the plate, so that the rat or mouse we were trying to trap in the workshop would get zapped by the 25,000 volts from the CRT. It would have been very quick, much better than being smacked on the head with a wire from a normal mouse trap. And it was quite successful. I don't know, I can't remember if we actually got a mouse, but it was a bit of a talking point. I may not have caught the mouse, but I did catch the wife. And there we go. It's a little techno geek thing for you. Yeah. Right. The other things, I can't really think of anything else that's there now, unless you've got anything else to say, Wasim. It's really a case of run out this week. Or have I? Let me think. There was one other thing I was going to talk about. I'd have to look and see what my videos were. Do you know what? When you put them up fairly regularly, you forget what's there. Oh yeah, the azimuth one. That's worked quite well. Troubleshooting electronics. Secret cassette harmonic distortion. Now, did anybody understand that, or was I just sort of whistling in the wind? I think it was you've got a Yamaha KX393, and what did you do about trying to keep your distortion low? Hello Eagle, how you doing? Now somebody put a comment on that video. Let me see. I think it was. Let's have a look. Oh, we've got Max D and Eagle. Yeah. So, thank you for that, Eagle. I appreciate that. TDKD 90, Sony HF 90, and a Bush SF 90. How much snow you got up where you are then, Eagle? Because you're up north, aren't you? Well up north. So, +1, +2. Now, if you were using the D, that's a very good tape. That has no problem with that. Sony HF, the Bush, I would be worried about. The Bush, I would keep that down from what I'm remembering. But I did a review on the Bush, and Has anybody thought about doing their own versions of my tests? If anybody wants the file, I can always send it to them. It's just a thought. 20 centimetres. 20 centimetres? Bloody hell. Oh, shouldn't say that. Bitterly cold, yeah. My wife's gone out this evening. My current wife has gone out this evening, and she was worried that it was because it was settling around our way, but we had about 1 or 2 millimetres. But you've got 20 centimetres. What's that in? That's a fifth of a metre, so it's about a foot. Wow. Yes, the teac D90. You know what? They get surprisingly good bad press. They get surprisingly good bad press. I'm not really pausing. I'm reading what's going on there. So, Wasim's talking to Egil, and Wasim's also saying he's got a Panasonic boombox. Funnily enough, the teac D is the one that most machines would be calibrated to, and it's the one that certainly, when I did the tests, gave the best results out of all the tapes I've done. It wasn't the best at everything, but it was very good at everything. Whereas some of the other tapes are excellent at some things and not so good at others. So it's a bit weird. Anyway, right. So that was that one. I'm sure there was something else. Live stream. Car engines? No, we won't go into that. They're just too expensive, car engines. I'll tell you what. Has anybody seen a lot of the posts about electric cars? Anybody got any thoughts on electric cars? I was quite for them until people have been pointing out some of the pitfalls, which when you start thinking about it, you say, well, hang on, yeah, they're right. I mean, $15,000 to replace a battery pack. Yes. Would you spend $15,000? I mean, basically, it's $1 for a pound, so £13,000 to get a 15-year-old car back on the road. What? I think it's about the best of the brand new tapes. Yeah, TDK don't make tapes anymore. They were very good at the time. Apparently the metals aren't so good, but I've not had one to try out. I'll tell you what I've got here though. I've got this from Tape Line. So I've got there my homemade splicing kit. Where is it there? Homemade splicing kit. I've done a video on that, but that's for genuinely splicing tapes. And I bought the splicing tape and the blade, which is the round thing there, and the blade. I bought that from Tape Line, and I used a credit card and an Oyster card to make a jig, which I did a video on, which works ever so well. These are what I've really got. I'm sort of that's the same sort of spools as that Capture's got, I think. You see that? They've got the big gaps in them. Yeah, that is a metal tape. That is a brand new Maxell loaded metal tape from Tape Line. I think I paid about £4. I paid 20 odd quid for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so I paid 20 odd quid for 4 and the splicing equipment stuff. And they are superb. The only thing that I did have a problem with, and I will mention this, is that the W1200 tried to eat it. Now, there's no reason why you shouldn't play a metal tape back on any cassette deck. There's a load of there's a load of guff about pressure felt. Hang on, let's answer some UK. Eggle says, hang on, we're seeing initial cost of expensive electric cars and not enough charging points at the moment in the UK. Totally agree. And have you seen how much they're charging? There's a guy did a video last week, or the week before, and it cost him 300 quid to go from Cornwall to Bristol, back to Cornwall. And normally it would have cost him about 95 quid in diesel, but because he was using an electric car and he had to charge 3 times, it cost him over 200 quid. He wasn't impressed, and the fact that he had to keep stopping. The Eagle says, I want a kit like that. And Wasim says, I think I bought that from Tape Line as well a while back. Yeah, well, if you did well. I'm not sure they're in stock at the moment. But pressure felts. Now, I did buy them. You're talking about the thing for inside. You're talking about the pad in there, aren't you? In which case, they're available on, mine are upstairs, they're available on eBay, and they do a very good job. If you're desperate, you can always just cut up a bit of draft excluder. But if you go onto eBay, you can find quite nicely. Let's have a look. There's search for anything. Cassette felt pads. They're not last shot pads premium. That's the one. There we go. Now, if I do the old bear with, boom, and fade. There we go. Right, I bought large felt pads, premium easy protected heavy pack duty furniture sheets. Not that. I bought this felt pressure pads for audio cassette tapes, self-adhesive ×10. Now they actually came in the ones I bought came sort of like, yeah, like that. But those are no good. You need the ones that say they're for tape. And there we go. I'm not advocating this, chappy. I'm just saying that it's available there. And for £4.65, I don't think you can, free postage, I don't think you can go wrong, to be honest. Condition like new materials repackaged. So I think you can see all that there. They are very good. You have to cut them to the right length, but they are the right width. So it's nice and easy to use. Let's have a look at the other picture it's got. Yeah, so it's showing there it's the same. It's a fraction. It's just that, and they are that long. So what's that, 70? So you're going to get, that's a lot of tapes you can repair for that. Well worth it. And like I say, other suppliers are available, but I'll always help if I can and point out something. Hope that's of interest. Let's go back to there. Boom. Yeah, pre-recordings have a habit of losing them. And I'll tell you what, what the problem I've had. Oh look, you can see me seeing me. let's get rid of that. Bum 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 bum. Got to turn that one off. Then I'll come back to me. Like that. Right, yeah. The problem I've had with felts and things is that they fall off on the genuine ones. I tell you what's a good tip though, if you've got a cassette that needs to have a new felt on it, you can glue it on, but it's very difficult because the glue gets everywhere, and so you're better off actually taking the thing out, cleaning it up, and putting it back on if you can. If not, just pull the tape out. I'm not going to damage that one, but pull it to one side and clean the pad off where the pad was stuck. Clean the adhesive off as well as you can. Then you can just sort of literally stick it straight back in. Oh look, it looks like I'm going bald. You know, I've had that since I was 7. Well, that's the youngest I can remember. People saying, "Do you know you're going bald?" But I knew it was a high-pitched voice. That, because I was Kitty Winkles, and so was I. Yeah, so that's the way I've found to be a problem. Is if you're going to use glue, you've got to take the thing apart. But if you use these self-adhesive ones, as long as you get it smooth, when you put it in, they will just work. But if you do use them, make sure you test it afterwards. Don't just assume it's okay, because it could throw it out if it's not quite right. And that was that. If you use these tapes, by the way, these audio line ones, please be aware, and if you get anything, please be aware of this problem. You see the hills? It thinks that is a, well, you can see that's the one I've modified. So I bought 4. You see the holes there? It comes with the holes there and the holes there. And so it thinks it's a type 2 tape. Which means that unless you've got manual switching, you're not going to be able to record on it. Because look, this is how they come out of the packet. Nice and smooth. But you can see exactly where they are meant to be, the holes for the type 4. And so you just need to cut those. But, and this is a big but, I wasn't happy with using a Dremel or something like that, because what happens when you start grinding things or cutting things? Well, what tends to happen, in my experience, is you get sawdust, be it plastic or metal or whatever you're going to be grinding up. You get sawdust. So what I did, and I did make a video on it because I thought about it. What I did was I used a hot wire, and I literally bent it to the shape of the holes, warmed it up, and pushed it in. Just used a cigarette lighter. It is not pretty. Please do not think that I'm making pretty holes. I do not think that is pretty. I just think it's functional. But it's functional in such a way that it works. There is no... If you can see any sign of sawdust in there, then you're a better person than I am. I mean, you're a lot younger than I am, but I'm looking at the same TV screen. There is no sign of any dust in there, because when you press a hot wire into plastic, what does it do? It melts around it, and that's it. The only thing I did have to do was get a like a Stanley knife, or if anybody who doesn't know what one of them is, a robust craft knife, and just cut where there was a little curl. I didn't want to have it proud. There's a very slight edge there, but not enough to be a problem. But so all I had to do was just very gently cut it while it was still warm. Just very gently cut around there with a knife, and it came off. And I'm really pleased with that. And the results were superb, absolutely superb. What I was going to say was, for some reason, metal tapes, there is a risk that they might get chewed when they first start to run on your cassette deck. I've had it happen twice now, where you put the tape in, you push go, and it mistracks slightly. I don't know why, but what I found works is if you just fast forward it a fraction, or wind it on with your finger, and put that in there, it's fine. It works perfectly. I've only ever had the problem on my W1200 with the metal tapes. If people are asking, metal tapes play back with 70 microsecond EQ, and they play back the same sort of signals that a Type 2 would be playing back. So therefore, Type 2 is fine. If you've got a machine with Type 2 abilities, then it's fine. But And there's a lot of myths about this. It's all bollocks. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's all rubbish. There is a theory that all this stuff is magic, and it's sort of really quite bad the way that people seem to think of these things. If you've got a standard Walkman type player or a shoebox player and it gives you reasonable sound out, and bearing in mind that recording is hard, and to record on a tape well is very hard, what you need to do is you need to just play back. You need to play back and adjust the tone controls, because it doesn't care. It really doesn't care that it's not got the right EQ, because it doesn't know. The tape has no memory of anything. It doesn't know that it's got the wrong EQ. It's not going to have a hissy fit because you've got 120 microseconds instead of 70. All that's going to happen is you're going to just alter the tone control. I know I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. Recording is difficult. On the how to decide what you got type. Well, my latest video, which is about soft touch controls and things, that Sanyo that I show, which is from 1968, that was that's just a stock photo, but that is the model that I actually had for my first ever cassette player, and that one actually had AC bias and AC arrays, and although it was mono, it was gorgeous. And when we played it through the stereo system, my dad had one of the first stereo systems, it made the tinsel on the Christmas tree rattle with the sound quality. It was absolutely, for its time, superb. And people forget these things, but it's just sort of, I don't know, it just frustrates me, all this people sort of making things up as they go along. Oh, you've got to have this, you've got to have that, you can't do anything else. And I've said it before, people who will claim to be audiophiles, claim to want it, and they'll say they'll record it with Dolby and then play it back with Dolby off to get the higher frequency response. Basically, it's a 10 dB boost on the high frequencies, which is, when you consider the average tone control is only 12 dB, that's pretty high. Anyway, right, okay. Anything else, chaps? Did anybody watch the Tecmo video this week? Well, that's quite interesting. He was talking about Walkmans, and how basically the Walkman wasn't particularly marvellous. It was just somebody had the good idea of putting it together properly, which of course was the boss of Sony, who put a stereo playback machine together and ended up with something that was really good. They weren't cheap though, but the other companies had things that were almost the same but hadn't actually thought about marketing them that way. Absolutely very, very well done video. Quite enjoyed that, the way he put that together. The thing he did mention, which I'd have to agree with, because my first encounter with a Sony Walkman was when I worked for a company, and we used them for sounds sacrilege, doesn't it? We used them for data recording to feed into a computer. It was our own system, and we needed to be able to up and download scripts onto a computerized, well, people call them autocues, but it was porta-prompt. We had to be able to put the script up onto the cameras, and so we were uploading and downloading to an 8080, I think it was, or was it the Motorola chip? Yeah, it was the ZX80 type chip that was used in the computers. Anyway, we used one of those to make a prompter, and we needed to be able to upload and download software, or in this case, scripts. Sort of, hello, how are you? Welcome to the show, that sort of stuff. And so the Walkman was the best quality. My boss went out and bought one. Cost an absolute fortune at the time, 1980-ish, 79, 80, whatever it was. And he went out and bought one, and it was gorgeous. He let us have a listen to it before we put it in the machine. I always thought it was sacrilege, but the Techman was right. The biggest advance was actually the headphones. They were gorgeous. They really did make there was nothing like it. And yeah, when you put that together with a reasonable cassette mechanism, you ended up with some really good sounds. And of course it recorded, which was important. But it was the size of, well, slightly chunkier than a phone. That's a fairly standard size phone. It's slightly chunkier than that. But yeah, it worked. And yeah, that was it. He goes into it quite well. Techmoan must spend a lot of time making his videos, because I know I spend a lot of time making mine, and his are equally as complicated, if not more so. I mean, he's been doing it longer than I have, of course. But you know, respect to the man. He puts himself in there very well. The other one that was of interest. Okay, who plays their records? I assume people have got records. Who plays their records with the lid up, or with the lid down, or with the lid sort of, you know, halfway in between, or removed, or whatever? Because Westlife's had a very good video out this week, and I won't spoil it for you, but he's asking the question: should you play your records with the lid up, lid down, or with the lid removed? And it was a question. It's one of those questions you really think, I've always wondered whether what I'm doing is right. And so if you watch his video this week, you will find out. We're seeing you do it with the lid down usually. And why would that be? Because I must agree with you, I do it that way, but why do you do it that way? I can tell you why I do it, which I will do, but is there a good reason, or is it just that that's the way it happened? I shall wait and see if I get a response. I don't know how big the delay is. Am I up to date here? Oh, I'm ahead of myself. Probably because the lid is there. Well, that's as good an answer as any. I'll tell you why I play it with the lid down. Because I very rarely have my records loud, but I normally sitting fairly close to the record player, and I can hear the noise coming from the stylus, the scratchy noise, which I don't like. But yeah, apparently, according to Fluence and something else, you should have the lid up because it does various things. Catches the sound, acts as an amplifier, all that sort of stuff, which is interesting. And so I don't believe it though. But what Westlife's actually done is he's done some proper tests. I like Westlife's videos for the exact opposite reason that I don't like some other people's, because he will say this is a fact, and then he'll prove it to you. Which to me, that's the way it should be done. This is a fact, and to prove it, I'll show you. So you know, more power to his elbow. And that's it. Yes, we're seeing that's exactly what I'm on about. The small noise from the record itself. So lid down minimises it. That's what I thought. Also, I'm old enough to remember record players when they came in big wooden boxes like the Dancets and that. And if you didn't shut the lid, the speakers didn't sound right, because the speaker, the whole box, you know, you've seen the Dancet record player, the whole box was sort of boom, boom, boom. You had the lid, but the speakers were normally in the front, and sometimes they were vented and sometimes they weren't. But if you close the box, you actually heard the sound better. So, and as I wrote on the comments thing, later on in life I had a Sharp linear track turntable. If you don't put the lid down on that, it doesn't play because the stylus, the arm is mounted in the lid. There's a thought. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, have a look at Westlife's video. It's very good. I'm impressed with his videos, as I say. I just wish I could. I wish I had the space and the time to be able to do some of this stuff that some of these other guys do, because it would be. It's the sort of thing that the ones I watch. It's the sort of things that interest me, but I'm sort of stuck doing the stuff I'm doing because that's what I've got. Anyway, so if anybody wants to send me anything, I'm talking commercially here. If anybody wants to send me anything to test or promote or whatever, I will do so, provided one thing. I can say whether it's good or bad. If anybody personally or commercially or anything wants to send me anything for me to test, assess, then I will give a truthful and honest assessment and whatever. I won't tell lies, and I won't make something sound good that isn't. But on the other hand, I won't make something sound bad that isn't either, because I've seen a few reviews, and I'm of the same view as Recordology on this. If you get a piece of equipment and it works, then why would you run it down? There are people who run stuff down just for the sake of it, and I don't believe in that. I think people should take it as they find it, and if it's good, it should be called out for being good, and if it's bad, it should be called out for being bad, and that's it, really. Anyway, okay then, chaps, I think we've probably worn out our welcome. How long have we going now? 1 minute and 7. No, 1 minute and 7? No, 1 hour and 7 minutes. Wow. Actually, don't know about you, but I quite enjoyed that. Looking at all the figures here, I've dropped 64 frames in that hour. 64, that's not bad, is it? And what else it's saying there? CPU is running at 1.8%, or 1.86. What's that? Yeah, it's running at 60 frames a second. It's doing its job. My God, I've actually got a computer here that is actually good enough to do what I want it to do. I've never had one that's done that before. There's a review on it in the videos, so you can catch that anytime. Like I say, yes, Wasim, if you send me an email, I will send you. If you send me an email, I will send you the file, and you can use that, and you can then get results that are reproducible, and you'll be able to sort of compare stuff directly with what I've got, and go from there. It's good. Right, okay, I shall wind it up there then, chaps. Thank you very much, Egil. I appreciate that. If spread the word, try and get some more people watching, listening, and subscribing. Need the subscribers. I feel bad sitting here saying need subscribers, but it's the way it works. If I don't have subscribers, then did you know? Just as an aside, I've probably mentioned it before. What YouTube say, if one person watches it this week, they will push it to 7 next week. And if 7 watch it next week, they'll push it to 7 times 7 the week after. The numbers get bigger, but we need to get it out there so it can actually do. Need to find the first 7 so that we can get to the second 7 times 7, and from there on. So anyway, try and get the word out. If you know anybody, if you've got any interest in anything, then send me drop me a line. There's my email address is on the channel stuff, or you can put it in the comments if it's of value, and try and get people to try and do things to come onto the channel, and we'll try and make it I want to make it a community. I want to make it so that it's just chatting to friends and swapping stories. And I don't want it all to be me. So let's try and make it good. Anyway, thanks a lot, chaps. Thanks, Egil. Thanks, Wasim. And anybody who's watching on the replay, thank you for joining in. Please put comments in the comments and things, and I will hopefully see some of you guys next week. Thank you. Bye bye. How do I push stop? Stop streaming. And right.